Conversational postulates. Here is an example of my using a conversational postulate in a live seminar. Conversational postulates. Before we do this, I wonder, let's see, it's 9:16 in California. I wonder if anyone here can tell me what time it is in New York right now.
12:16.
Okay, now who's the first person to say it? Okay, over there? Okay, why did he tell me it's 12:16?
He's probably from the East Coast.
But why did he say it? No idea. How many of you thought I asked what time it is in New York? I absolutely did not ask.
You said how many of you could tell me.
I said, I wonder if anyone could tell me. Okay? I didn't ask for anything. That's a conversational postulate. On the surface, a conversational postulate is a question. In reality, it's a command. The hypnotherapist says, "Can you place your hand on your thighs?" What he's really saying is, go ahead, place your hands on your thighs. Or it might be, go ahead, try to place your hands on your thighs, depending upon the effect the therapist is trying to achieve. I might say to you, I wonder if you can recall the first radio station you ever visited. In reality, I'm commanding you to recall the first station you ever visited. A commercial or an advertisement might ask, have you ever wondered what would happen to your family if you died tomorrow? Would they have to worry about money? You see, if an insurance commercial you say, look, you're going to die one day, and your kids are going to be without a parent, and your spouse is going to go broke, you're going to offend some people. But if you simply ask a hypothetical question, have you ever wondered what would happen? That is a conversational postulate. Age regression is bringing closer to the surface some of the Hebbian connections that were formed in childhood, bringing those Hebbian connections closer to the surface of the consumer's consciousness. Here are some age regression concepts from my childhood. The good humor man. If you're not from North America, that's the ice cream truck that came around every day in the summer ringing a bell to attract all the neighborhood children. The batting cage. Of course, that only applies if you were raised playing baseball. Cotton candy. In the history of the world, has there ever been an adult who awakened one day and thought, you know, I'd really like to eat some cotton candy today? Probably not, because it's pretty disgusting stuff. But when you're at the carnival or at the school fair, you buy that stuff and you eat it. And you know it's terrible for you, but it's just like when you were a kid. Play-Doh. Put some Play-Doh in the hands of a 50-year-old, and that adult becomes a kid once again. It's what I call my ping-pong ball theory. My ping-pong ball theory states that if an adult finds himself or herself in an otherwise empty room with a large table in the middle of the room and a ping-pong ball sitting on the table, the adult will find it very hard to resist the urge to pick up the ping-pong ball. It reminds us of our childhood, back when we found it hard to resist picking up fun-looking objects. It's non-threatening. We know we can handle it. We know how it works. That is age regression. So if you're advertising a back-to-school sale for the children of your target audience, regress your target audience, that is, the adults, to their childhoods. If your target audience is old enough, maybe you'll begin by saying, I'll never forget that smell for as long as I live. Fresh mimeograph paper. Well, they don't use that stuff anymore. We're not selling mimeograph paper. But if the parents are old enough, they remember it. Or this was always a big deal for me. At the start of each school year, each student would get a brand new pencil box. The more you can bring people back emotionally to where they were in the context of what you are promoting or selling, the easier it is to communicate to them, in this case to sell to them, if the age regression is appropriate. Here's an advertiser who tries to use age regression.
It's winter's magic trick. The first snowflakes fall like confetti from heaven, And kids know that soon there will be snowmen and snowball fights. So you buckle their boots and send them on their way. And as they make their first footprints in the new fallen snow, you recall when you were a child and this perfect white world was your playground. Carnation Hot Cocoa celebrates this first snowfall and reminds you of all the little things that bring us so much wonder. We offer your family something warm, creamy, and chocolatey as they return home from their adventures. Carnation Hot Cocoa. You bundle them up on the outside, we'll warm them up on the inside.
Now, be honest. Does that commercial remind you of your childhood? It attempted to utilize age regression, but it sure doesn't remind me of my childhood winters. It reminds me of TV commercials for Hallmark cards. It's a TV image of an idealized childhood, but I don't recognize it from my life. In my experience, and this might not be yours, but in my experience, winter in childhood means you stay outside until it's dark and your mother screams that you have to come inside the house right now, and then you run in, and then you get yelled at for your muddy boots. Sure, hot cocoa is a great memory, and it certainly can be used for age regression, but only if it reflects the common human experience of your target audience. That spot was nicely produced, featured a terrific performance, but it evoked only a false memory, not one that reflects the experiences of most people. Here's a very clever example of age regression.
Welcome back to 5 Billion Reasons to Shop at Portland Saturday Market. Today, reasons 56 through 64 are brought to you by your third-grade teacher who was really super mean to you, Mrs. Heine.
Now listen here, Mr. Lazy Pants. I've had just about enough of your antics. You're going to scoot your bottom down to the Portland Saturday Market this instant, or I'm calling your mother. You could learn a thing or two from those people, Mr. Slouchabout. They're out there every single weekend selling those nifty arts and crafts that they make with their own two hands. And mind you, Mr. Lollygagger, they make things people can actually use, like jewelry and clothes and some snappy wood carvings. Nobody's going to want a paperweight made out of your cat's hairballs, Mr. Shenanigans. Nobody. So you can just wipe that smirk off your face this instant.
Those were just a few reasons why you should shop at Portland Saturday Market. Open every Saturday and Sunday under the Burnside Bridge.
You don't really have 5 billion reasons, do you?
Yes, I do.
Don't you sass me, Mr. Gabby McBlab.
In that spot, age regression is used to deliver the sales information while remaining true to the character. And if you ever had a domineering school teacher, then you were age regressed as she lectured you. Here's another commercial that utilizes age regression.
Have you ever noticed how certain albums are tied to memories of particular people and times? I can put on a record and it's, oh yeah, man, I used to listen to this when I was still with Sheila. Oh boy, was she a wrong turn. Or I can pop in a certain CD and be instantly transported back to my activist days. Yeah, I can almost still smell the tear gas hanging in the air. Which gets me thinking, maybe it's time to recycle these tired old memories and move on to some better ones. And the place to do that is at Everyday Music. Just take all your old records, tapes, and CDs to Everyday Music, and they'll give you cash for them. Cash. And then you can take that cash and buy some new music. Everyday has over 35,000 new and used CDs, plus a ton of cassettes and records. Just take that easy cash and go pick out the albums that trigger off the best flashbacks. Because even though, you don't want to live in the past, it can be a nice place to visit. Everyday Music, downtown on West Burnside, on Northeast Sandy Boulevard, in Beaverton across from Beaverton Mall, and the Jazz Store next to their downtown location. That's Everyday Music, open every day, 9 a.m. till midnight.
In that spot, you were age regressed to your feelings and lifestyle when you originally purchased all the music you've got stored away in your closet or attic. Even if you're not in the same age range as that person, you would have been regressed to whatever is appropriate for you and what memories accrue to the music that you have in your closet. They take you back to that time of your life emotionally, and then they lead you to the present, where you no longer have much use for some of those records. A small technical note, by the way. In my opinion, they should not have had that guy break character to deliver the sales details at the end. If all those details were necessary, they should have been handed off to an announcer. Here is the first of two commercials that use age regression for this advertiser.
Ah, the American University, an institution brimming with wisdom, learning, and cheap, tasteless keg beer. A place where young men and women learn about the arts, literature, and the physics of crushing aluminum beer cans on their foreheads. I'm Jim Cook, brewer of Sam Adams. Graduation is a time to make choices. Choose to move up from mass-produced quantity beers to the quality of a Sam Adams. Sam Adams is for people who appreciate the taste of a well-crafted beer. It's a beer for people who want more. More hops, more malt, more flavor. So no matter where you are in life, now's the time to graduate up to drinking less and drinking better. Quality, not quantity. Of course, this means throwing out that hat with the beer holders on each side, but that's the way it goes. Slow, crafted Sam Adams. All in due time.
That commercial used age regression, taking beer drinkers back to their college days when quantity mattered more than quality, and then leading them to their current adulthood and what should be their more discerning tastes. Here's one more commercial from the same campaign.
This is the time of year when we acknowledge the value of higher education, when we celebrate wisdom, when we graduate to a better life, and with it, better beer. I'm Jim Cook, brewer of Sam Adams. As we grow wiser, we realize that there's a lot more to beer than beer bongs and bouncing quarters. We graduate from quantity to quality, from college keg parties with cheap, watery suds to the rich, full-bodied taste and deep amber color of my Sam Adams. We learn to drink beer we actually want to taste. We leave behind the lowest common denominator beers and graduate to the patient, handcrafted brewing of Sam Adams. You've worked long and hard for your higher education, so now that you're ready for better beer, there's a slow, crafted Sam Adams waiting for you. Slow, crafted Sam Adams, all in due time.
That's age regression and pacing and leading. And once they lead you where they want you to go, they don't go back. So many commercials spend 45 seconds showing you how terrible it is with brand X, and then 15 seconds saying how great we are. Excuse me, who's paying for the commercial, brand X or you? You should get the majority of the time in your advertisement. People learn via metaphors. A metaphor is simply something that stands for something else. Think back to the last time you stayed at a hotel. Instead of an old-fashioned metal room key, they probably gave you a magnetized plastic card to slide into a slot in the door of your room. And even if you never had stayed at that particular hotel before, you probably managed to use that card key to open that door. But how did you do that? How did you know you had never used that key? You'd never tried to open that door. But you've used other card keys on other hotel room doors. Maybe the keys weren't identical to the one that you used this time, and maybe the slot in the door wasn't exactly the same, but your previous experiences with card keys and hotel room doors served as a metaphor for this experience. Those familiar past experiences serve as metaphors for unfamiliar new experiences. That is learning by metaphor. One experience represents another. Can you think of an old saying that expresses the sentiment, apples are good for you? Well, if you're an American, you probably thought, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That is a metaphor. Can you think of another old saying that expresses the sentiment that fixing small problems can prevent big ones? You probably had to think a little longer before coming up with a stitch in time saves 9. You see, an apple a day keeps the doctor away is easier to retrieve from your memory because it's visual and kinesthetic and auditory instead of intellectual. In other words, you can picture the apple and the doctor and the color of the apple. Plus, you recall the feeling of biting into it and the sound of chewing it, the feeling of the apple skin stuck between your teeth. When I hear an apple a day keeps the doctor away, I actually picture a doctor being turned away at the door because we don't need him. A stitch in time saves 9 is harder to recall because it's intellectual. I don't know how to visualize a stitch in time. Or you might possibly, instead of a stitch in time saves 9, perhaps you thought of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that took you longer to recall than an apple a day. Why? Because it's rather difficult to visualize an ounce of prevention and a pound of cure. Also, by the way, apples are a form of age regression for everyone whose parents lectured them on the importance of eating fresh fruit. So when you use a metaphor, you want something that's easy to visualize, a picture that represents it. Here's a commercial that uses a metaphor to demonstrate the core message of the advertiser.
Hello, Charles. You're with the Rose Bowl?
That's correct.
How big is the Rose Bowl?
It's about 10 million cubic feet.
Sounds feasible. See, we're Amazon.com, Earth's biggest bookstore. We offer 2.5 million titles on the internet, and we've been looking for a place that could hold that many books.
Oh, you want to buy the Rose Bowl?
Well, is it in pretty good shape?
No, it's really nice.
And you see, a big chain superstore might take up one section, but with so many more titles, we'd fill the whole stadium. We could rename it the Book Bowl.
The Book Bowl.
Uh-huh.
That would be great.
Yeah, imagine New Year's Day, there's a whole stadium of people reading books. It might really change the image of Californians.
It may, and then again, they may say, yeah, they've really lost their mind.
Yeah, but people will love it. At Amazon.com, they can save up to 40%. So do we have a deal? Why not? You only use that place one day a year.
Well, normally, we would only have the New Year's Day game, but in the last couple of years, we have signed Major League Soccer games here.
Oh, come on, Charles. Books are a lot more fun than soccer.
Right.
Well, some books.
The search goes on, but just think, with 2.5 million titles at up to 40% off, your book is just a click away. Amazon.com, a better way to buy books.
The metaphor they used is, if you took all the books Amazon.com sells, it would fill the Rose Bowl. That is very visual. But they point out that a superstore could fill only a corner of the Rose Bowl, and we can picture that too. Now, what are they selling? Books. Is reading primarily a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic experience? It's visual. Note that they are using a visually oriented commercial to sell to book readers. You can have an auditory metaphor or a kinesthetic metaphor, too. You can talk about nails on the blackboard. But if you're selling books, unless you're blind, it's a visual experience. Once I heard a commercial for Samuel Adams beer, and they used a metaphor to tell people that drinking light beer doesn't really save you many calories. And I don't remember their exact wording. I will add my own wording to end the message. But I do remember the metaphor they gave. What they said was something like this. Light beer saves you just about the amount of calories you'd get from eating 3 tortilla chips. Do you really want to sell your soul for 3 tortilla chips? Now, that last line, do you really want to sell your soul for 3 tortilla chips? That's mine, but the metaphor they used, the 3 tortilla chips equals the amount of calories you save by drinking a light beer, that's from them. Those 3 tortilla chips are a powerful metaphor for the calories you save by sacrificing all that flavor. Here's another spot that uses metaphors effectively.
What would you do if a stranger talked to you?
I wouldn't talk to them because it might be bad.
And what would you tell someone playing with matches?
I'll tell them to stop because they may start a fire.
How come you know so much?
My mommy told me.
Oh, and what did your mommy tell you about drugs?
Your children are listening. Are you talking? A message from Partnership for a Drug-Free America.
They use the things the parents have discussed with the little girl as a metaphor for another topic that they feel parents should discuss with her. They also used a very powerful technique called deletion, which we will discuss shortly. Here's another commercial that first demonstrates the benefit to the consumer and then sums it all up with a metaphor.
I'm looking for Captain Scabrous, Wicked Lord of the Zogs.
Come again?
I'm after Captain Scabrous, Wicked Lord of the Zogs.
Sorry?
Do you have Captain Scabrous here?
We'll be in next week.
Finding the toys your children want doesn't have to mean searching every toy shop in town. Just come to Toys R Us. It's a store the size of a sports field, crammed with thousands upon thousands of toys, all under one roof.
Captain Scabrous, Wicked...
Third aisle on the left.
Toys R Us. More toys than anyone in the whole wide world at Woking, Wood Green and Basildon.
The metaphor they use to illustrate how large Toys R Us is a store the size of a sports field. It's a metaphor you can picture, you can visualize. Automobile advertising has used sex as a selling tool for decades. Here's a commercial that uses it as a metaphor.
This is Night Talk. Melissa, what's going on?
Hi, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I've been driving this cute SUV for about a month now, but
But you're having doubts.
I'm still attracted to it, but it's just not as powerful as I thought it would be. I'll feel bad if I break it off now.
Now, you've got to trust your instincts. There are a lot of underpowered posers out there trying to fool women into thinking they're something they're not.
It was so adorable that I never even looked under the hood.
Vehicular inadequacy. I see it everywhere. And don't be thinking that little 4-cylinder engine will get any bigger if you just give it more time.
I'm just afraid there won't be anything better out there.
Well, that's nonsense. Look, Melissa, I know the perfect match for you. A strong, rugged Suzuki V6 Grand Vitara. It's the only 4-door V6 in its class, so it has power a woman can count on. Plus, it's got a long list of standard equipment to satisfy your every desire. But you've got to have faith and take that first step.
Okay.
Don't wind up in a dead-end relationship with an underpowered SUV. Find your soulmate in a V6 Grand Vitara at a Northwest Suzuki dealership today. Suzuki, be yourself.
Although they never explicitly said so, they used a sexual relationship as a metaphor for an automobile, which is ironic because that's the traditional way to try to sell cars to men. Here's another commercial that uses a metaphor to present its case.
Richmond Savings presents yet another tale from the world of low expectations.
Technical support, may I help you?
Yes, hi. Got through. My new computer keeps crashing.
It is a computer, sir.
Well, I guess you got a point there.
Thank you for calling.
No, wait, miss, ma'am. See, I think it crashes too often.
All right, let's give the wheel a spin.
What are you doing?
Solving your problem, sir.
Oh, well, good.
The wheel says check power outlet.
Well, funny thing, I've done that, and there's nothing wrong with the power.
Well, let's try again.
Well, don't you actually know anything about computers?
Sir, you could fill a warehouse with things I don't know.
Oh.
It says turn computer off.
Oh, how would that help?
The wheel doesn't say, sir.
At Richmond Savings, we believe low expectations shouldn't be a way of life. In fact, our members own us, which means they have a say in the way we operate. So come to Richmond Savings and let us raise your expectations. Richmond Savings is Canada's third largest credit union with locations throughout the Lower Mainland.
In that case, the metaphor for bad banking service is bad computer technical support. And then they move on to why their banking service is better than their competitors. It wasn't as strong as it could have been because they could have done more to show us why it's better, but they did give us one piece of evidence, which is we're owned by our members, so we have to answer to them. So they started with the metaphor of bad computer technical support and then moved on to how they provide better service in their business than you might expect from their competitors. Here's a commercial that offers a series of metaphors that illustrate the same selling point.
This is your modem. This is what Flashcom does to your modem. Your modem? Flashcom. Flashcom DSL Internet service supercharges your modem and gives you broadband online access at up to 100 times the speed of dial-up service. And right now, for a limited time, you can get high-speed DSL Internet access for 30 days free with a free modem and free installation. So you can stop waiting for everything you like to do on the Internet. And with Flashcom DSL, you're always online. No more busy signals. So call today and let Flashcom turn your modem into a monster.
Whoever created this next commercial really knows how to make a point via a metaphor.
Hi, my name is Jack Shanahan, retired Vice Admiral, U.S. Navy. I believe we can improve education in America without compromising our national security. To illustrate my point, I have some BBs here. Imagine each BB is a nuclear bomb. One could destroy Hiroshima 15 times over. 5 wipes out all of Russia. Now, after using those 6 bombs, this is how many the U.S. has left. By reducing our nuclear weapons, we could save billions of dollars. That money could be educating our kids. Let's get the politicians to talk about the real issues. Call 1-877-IOWA-MOM.
It's a metaphor that makes its impact initially auditorily, but also leads to a visual image and maybe, depending on who's listening, a kinesthetic response. Remember, the metaphors you use must make sense. The consumer must easily be able to spot the relationship between the metaphor and the product or service. Here's a good example of a metaphorical relationship that is both original and still quite logical.
Mr. Lube's Hot Story.
I'm here with a car freed from a day-long hostage ordeal. Are you the car's owner?
I just went to a car dealership to have the oil changed, and they asked for my keys.
Calm down!
They just wanted me to leave my car with them all day.
And did you give in to their demands?
I headed to Mr. Lube.
For a fast, warranty-approved hot oil change.
Yeah?
This has been a hot story from Mr. Lube, doing it right before your eyes.
Mr. Lube.
There's a Mr. Lube near you, like the one at Kingsway and Sperling in Burnaby.
The metaphor is your car being held hostage for a day. That was their way of saying, you don't have to wait all day for a lube job here. Analogical marking is selecting keywords for heightened emphasis. A hypnotherapist might welcome a new client by saying, I hope you find that chair to be comfortable. Yesterday, at just about this exact same time, in fact, a client made me feel so good when he told me how easy it is to just sit back and relax. And of course, when you settle into an overstuffed chair like this one, you want to relax. So I felt good to know that. Here's the message that was just given, just below the client's conscious threshold. Be comfortable. Feel so good. Easy to sit back and relax. You want to relax. Now, this isn't game playing, where you subtly change your voice inflection and the other person suddenly becomes your hypnotic slave. But you can mark off words and phrases, and especially in a commercial where everything is planned out and you can do as many takes as you need. You could say, your only choice for a hot day is Budweiser. Or you could say, your only choice for a hot day is Budweiser. That's analogical marking. Instead of taking a piece of copy and racing through it, mark off the message you want to deliver, the key words, the key phrases. A local car dealer commercial featuring testimonials from satisfied customers might end with, so if you want a great deal on a great car, listen to your friends and see the BMW experts at Fresno BMW. And what the listener hears subconsciously is, your friends at Fresno BMW. Deletion. This is one of the most powerful weapons in your arsenal when used properly. Deletion is not verbalizing the actual message you want the person to receive. I know that sounds confusing. Deletion is when you do not verbalize the message you want the other person to receive. When inducing an hypnotic trance, the hypnotherapist might say to the client, you might notice that your right arm is feeling very heavy. So heavy, as though a great weight is pushing it down so hard that probably if you tried, you would find it very difficult to lift off the table at all, and it might even be impossible. But here's a more elegant way to give that message using deletion. As you sit there, almost every part of you feels completely normal. Your left arm feels fine. You can wiggle the fingers on your left hand. You can wiggle the toes on your left foot. You can bend your left knee. You can pat your left thigh. You can wiggle the toes on your right foot. You can bend your right knee. You can feel the air rustling your right ear. And what happens now? Believe it or not, the person cannot lift his right arm, because the mind goes crazy trying to fill in what's been left out. Deletion utilizes the principle of closure. Closure is the natural tendency of the human mind to impose order upon chaos. You've heard the phrase, nature abhors a vacuum. Well, the human mind abhors an information vacuum, and when the communicator leaves something out, the mind goes crazy trying to fill it in. Deletion is incredibly powerful when used effectively. Let's listen to a few examples.
At 79th Street and Central Park West stands the American Museum of Natural History. Inside you'll find one of the most startling sights in all of New York, the Hall of Dinosaurs, a fascinating collection of what for thousands of years were the most powerful creatures on Earth. However, due to continual changes in the environment and an inability to adapt, these creatures quickly vanished. If you are a New York executive who does not feel it is absolutely necessary to read Crane's New York Business on a regular basis, we encourage you to visit this educational exhibit without delay.
That's deletion. They didn't tell you why you should visit this educational exhibit without delay. And for a moment, your mind spins around trying to fill in the blank until it thinks, oh, I see, because otherwise I'll become extinct like the dinosaur. That's deletion. They allowed you to fill in the blanks. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone representing the client had urged them to spell out the message, to say, so remember, if you don't want to become extinct like the dinosaur, you'd better read Crane's. But that would not have been as powerful as the targeted consumers hearing that message in their own minds. If you can make people make that leap themselves, they will remember it and they will enjoy it more. And you can hear a commercial like that 100 times, and every time you hear it, you'll still make the connection. In addition to utilizing deletion, that commercial used metaphor, the metaphor of the dinosaur representing what you might become if you don't read Crane's. Here's another commercial from that same campaign, also using deletion.
Just off the boardwalk in Coney Island, you'll find the New York Aquarium. There, in a tank in the main lobby, swims one of the smallest yet most vicious predators the world has ever known, the red piranha. With its razor-sharp teeth, this bloodthirsty creature can attack, decimate, and devour its unknowing prey in seconds. If you are an executive in the New York area and feel you can stay safely ahead of your competitors without the information in Crane's New York Business, we strongly suggest you come down to the aquarium at feeding time for a demonstration.
Again, notice how they did not connect the dots for you. They allowed you to fill in the blank. Here's a commercial produced by Philip Mayes of Belgium, who is a graduate of our International Radio Creative and Production Summit.
Have you ever heard a better argument for using a child safety seat? Strap them in. You never know.
You never know what? Oh. You fill it in. It's a lot more powerful when you fill in the worst scenario your mind can devise. When you might lose control of the wheel. When a drunk driver might swerve into your lane. Here's another commercial produced by an International Radio Creative and Production graduate, Timothy Miles. I don't think I've ever heard a commercial quite like this, and if you're not part of their target demo, you might even be offended by it.
The following conversation has been edited for radio.
Hey, dude, let's go down to that Puff and Stuff place and get some new pipes to smoke our
tobacco.
In.
Where?
Come on, man. You know, Tope's Puff and Stuff on the Strip in Carbondale.
You mean they sell
tobacco?
That Puff and Stuff?
No, dude, but we can get new
accessories
to smoke our
tobacco.
In.
Cool, I've never been there.
Oh, dude, it's the coolest place. Candles, posters, black lights, water pipes, even body jewelry. You know, the kind that girls pierce their
ears
with.
I love the girls who pierce their
ears.
You know, one time I saw this girl with big
lobes.
And they were pierced all over. It was
really
and cool, man.
Tope's Puff and Stuff on the Strip in Carbondale. Ask for it by name.
This commercial is not yet rated.
Now, that might not be your typical advertiser, but it's a good example of deletion. They went out of their way not to verbalize the message they wanted you to hear. Here's another much more subtle example of the use of deletion.
In the high-tech world, things are always changing, so it helps to know where to go to get the latest breaking news.
Hello.
Hey, Mom.
Hi.
I actually have a question.
Yes.
Do you know if any high-tech companies are having IPOs today?
No, I don't. I'm so sorry.
Are there any new email viruses that I should worry about?
How about female viruses?
No, email viruses.
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm really not informed. Is this a serious conversation?
I just thought you could tell me how to prepare for the Y2K bug, maybe.
Well, I'm flattered that you think I know about these things.
Or maybe you could tell me if there are any exciting new high-tech products on the market.
I don't know these kinds of things, David.
Huh.
Do you really need to know this about something?
Well, no, it's nice to keep informed with the latest high-tech news.
David, do you have something to tell me?
There's a better place to go for technology information. CNET, with high-tech news, product reviews, comparison shopping, and more. CNET, the source for computers and technology at cnet.com.
Throughout the commercial, you're wondering, where can you get that kind of information? They withheld that information from you until the end. Another subtle use of deletion. Another powerful advertising technique is involvement. Did you ever receive a sweepstakes offer in the mail where you're supposed to punch out the red square, check the box that says yes, and then mail it back in the yellow envelope? Why? Why do they make you do all that just to enter a sweepstakes? Because the more they involve you, the more likely you are to play the game. Have you ever baked brownies from a mix? If so, what do you have to do to make brownies from a mix? Grease the pan, mix the powder with water, and a fresh egg. Now, eggs are perhaps the single easiest food to dehydrate and then to rehydrate, that is, to suck all the water out of and then add it all back later. Soldiers have been fed dehydrated eggs since the 19th century. Why, in the 21st century, do they make us add an egg? Well, in the 1950s, Betty Crocker and Duncan Hines and Pillsbury all came out with brownie mixes to which all you had to do was add water. And nobody bought them, because people didn't feel like they were baking that way. So the company said, okay, fine, add an egg. And the customers were happy, because now they were baking brownies. They actually had to crack open an egg and mix it in with the batter. That is the power of involvement. The more you involve the audience in your commercial message, the more likely you are to have their attention and to enlist their action. Here's a commercial that demonstrates the power of involvement as a selling tool.
Put that down. You don't know where it's been. Never wear good underwear to the doctor or your bill will be higher. Wait till your father gets home. Always tell the truth even if you have to lie to do it. The most important thing to get is a good bra. Turn out the lights. We don't own stock in the electric company. What will the neighbors think? You'll never get a boyfriend if you don't learn to play bridge. You're gonna poke somebody's eye out with that thing. Go back and this time use soap. You're not going out like that, are you? If he tries to kiss you, call me. Don't sit so close to the television, it'll ruin your eyes. If you fall out of that tree and break your leg, don't come running to me. You'll thank me for this someday. Mom, how could you forget her? Mother's Day is this Sunday.
C's famous old-time candies.
Most people who hear that commercial quickly become involved in the message because they realize it's a list of things their mothers might well have said to them when they were younger. Most listeners can relate to that commercial because they're involved in the message. They experience a degree of age regression. Their common human experiences are paced, and then they are led to the ultimate message of this spot. For Mother's Day, pick up a box of C's candies as a gift from Mom. Obviously, this commercial is good only for markets in which C's candies is well known. It also utilizes the principle of closure. As you're enjoying that list of things Mom might have said to you, you're also wondering, where is this going? The first time you hear this commercial, it's very difficult not to become involved.
Do you have a teenage daughter? Do you think that because she's young, she's not interested in sex? Or are you too embarrassed to talk about it? Do you know if she uses contraception? Or can't you cope with discussing the subject? If so, how would you both cope if she has a baby?
One last push.
Push.
Yes, well done.
Every year in Wales, nearly 5,500 teenage girls and their parents have to do just that.
Call 01222 342 766 for your free FPA booklet, available in both English and Welsh. It'll help you talk to your daughter about sex.
That commercial was both very effective and very controversial. Some listeners were offended, but they certainly were involved. And in addition to involvement, the spot utilizes emotion, visual images, audio images, and anticipatory surprise, which we will talk about soon. Small wonder it was so effective, even if a few people found it to be in bad taste. One of the most powerful ways to involve the audience is to begin your message with a question. I am not by any means saying that you should begin all or most of your advertising with a question. I am saying it can be very effective. But many people in our business have been taught never to begin a commercial with a question. If you were taught that, please take a moment to erase that admonition from your memory because it's wrong-headed. Now, I don't suggest that you begin your commercial with a stupid question. I once heard a commercial that began by asking, "Hey, are you looking for some fun in the sun?" No, I'm not. And that's a stupid question, and it's not very likely to involve the audience. But a question that involves people can be very effective. Like the example we used earlier from the insurance company. If you died tomorrow, would your family have enough money to live as securely as you'd like? That question will involve your target audience. Here is the strongest opening question I have ever heard in a commercial.
What if everyone in the world was named Chuck?
That's got to be the strangest question I've ever heard in my life. But you're driving down the street, listening to the radio, and you hear that question. Are you going to change stations before you find out why he asked such a question? It's such an odd question, the listener has to stick around just to discover why anyone would ever think to wonder what it would be like if everyone in the world were named Chuck. A commercial for insurance might well begin by asking, if you died tomorrow, would your family be as financially secure as you'd want them to be? A commercial for toothpaste might begin by asking, how would the world be different if people did not have teeth? A restaurant might ask, where do you go for dinner when your appetite is very large, but your pocketbook is very small? Anticipatory surprise. An anticipatory surprise is a surprising moment in a commercial that you know is coming, but which you look forward to anyway. In a commercial, the more you can build in a surprise that people anticipate, the greater that spot's wear factor. That is, the more often people can hear it without becoming bored by it. In the mid-1960s, an unknown actor named Dustin Hoffman filmed a TV commercial for the Volkswagen Beetle, which was being introduced to America. And Hoffman's on-screen character was a little bit smug as he showed off the all-new Volkswagen Beetle and opened up the hood and said, "The engine is not in the front of the car." And then he walked around to the back and said, "The engine is..." And he opened the back, and the engine wasn't there either. And he looked very puzzled and then just turned and walked away. And that moment of him discovering that the engine wasn't in the back either made that commercial so watchable. No matter how many times you saw it, you still anticipated his moment of confusion. You anticipated the surprise. And here's the key. You're not anticipating the surprise to you. You're anticipating the surprise to the person in the commercial. Here are some commercials that contain anticipatory surprises. The question is not, can we surprise the audience? The question is, can we make the audience want to experience that commercial for the 20th or 30th time by making them anticipate the surprise each time? By the way, the surprise should come at or near the end of the commercial. There's little value in having the listener or viewer anticipate something that occurs within the first few seconds of the spot. Here's an example from Dick Orkin. Notice where the anticipatory surprise occurs, and notice that the surprise focuses on the brand name that is being sold.
You're here to what? To patent my new invention, the copy machine? I think that's already been invented. Aha. But my copier reduces, enlarges, and makes crisp, clean copies every single time. Fascinating. I call it Norms, that's my name, 300RE. Well, I call this the new Minolta 300RE. No. See, it says right here, Norms 300RE. You mean this masking tape with your name written in red crayon? That's it. Sir, this is the shoddiest ripoff I've ever seen. Yeah, well, that's what they said to Thomas Edison. Well, he actually invented something. Was it a copy machine that reduces legal-size paper to file size and can also enlarge? Oh, come on. You didn't invent this machine. Oh, yeah. Well, who did then? What does that say? Minolta 300RE. Uh-huh. What do you say for yourself, Mr.
Minolta.
What?
Norm Minolta. That's my name.
Get out here before I phone the cops.
That's what they said to Alexander Graham Bell. The Minolta 300RE. Remember, it was our idea.
The big surprise occurs when the patent office guy rips off the masking tape to reveal the name Minolta, and it's close to the very end. So you sit through the story, waiting to experience the surprise again. In fact, that's one of the very big secrets of comedy commercials. The humor doesn't come from jokes. It doesn't come from funny voices. It doesn't even come from delivering lines humorously. It comes from the spaces between the words, from the silence that immediately precedes the revelation of the surprise. This should be obvious, but you can't have anticipatory surprise if there is no surprise. Try to find a surprise in this commercial.
I'm here talking about Wells Fargo free checking with direct deposit. We're here with Pete. Pete, what do you think about this free checking deal?
Well, I think it's the best thing since diced bread.
I think you mean sliced. But anyway, along with your Wells Fargo free checking account, you also get all the benefits of becoming a Wells Fargo customer, like ATMs that are everywhere and free online banking from the leading internet bank. Better than other banks, huh?
I am truly excited about Wells Fargo free checking, and I think it's time other people woke up and smelled the butter.
Uh-huh. Well, at Wells Fargo, there are also bankers that can help you anytime, day or night. All of this and no monthly fee if you have direct deposit.
Woo-hoo! Better shake the lead out and get down there, then.
Do you mean shake a leg or get the lead out?
Hey, watch it with the remarks. You're treading on light ice.
I think we can discern from that conversation that Pete is pretty happy about it then. Talk to a banker today to find out more about Wells Fargo free checking with direct deposit. Checking was the first stage. Wells Fargo, the next stage. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Were you surprised? Or was it obvious from the very beginning that the entire alleged humor in that commercial comes from the guy's mangling of cliches? There was no surprise, and there was no humor. And the attempt at comedy is completely unrelated to the sales message. Was there anything to look forward to if you were to hear that spot again, other than it ending? The surprise, by the way, does not have to be humorous, just surprising.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Dawn breaks, the bright, beautiful sun slowly creeping over the horizon, gently sweeping over the land like silk unraveling. A brand new day, bringing brand new discoveries for the kids across the street. Colorful birds, the golden brown cocker spaniel, sparkling morning dew resting on purple orchids. The world is so beautiful. I've been told.
Help the blind. Pledge the gift of sight by calling the Cornell Bank at 03756 1511 today.
That commercial came from Malaysia. Here's a rather subtle use of anticipatory surprise, produced by Houston Effler Herstick Favat.
You may get cancer or heart disease, but one thing I doubt you'll ever get from tobacco companies is the truth. They keep saying you can't get hooked on cigarettes, but the truth is, nicotine is extremely addictive. In fact, many smokers wind up even after they lose their vocal cords to cancer. My name is Janet Sackman. I'm not here because I got hooked and had cancer. I'm here because I was a model in cigarette ads and helped convince a lot of young people to smoke. I hope now I can convince you not to.
A message from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health.
That's a powerful, emotional surprise. When I first heard it, I assumed she was going to say, I used to be a smoker, and now I have to use this lung machine. It may not be the kind of commercial you enjoy hearing, but if you do hear it again, you're sure to wait for that moment when she crosses the bridge to the surprise. Here's a great example of the power of the anticipatory surprise.
I love hardcore hard cider. When it's hot and I'm hot, I rub a cold bottle of it down my neck and across my chest, and I take a big, long drink and roll it around on my tongue.
I just asked if you liked it, Mom. Jeez.
Sometimes the most natural things are the most disturbing.
I feel funny.
Hardcore hard cider. Just the right bite.
Now that you've heard that spot, you know where the joke is, where the comedy is. But the next time this commercial came on, wouldn't you be waiting for that moment of surprise? Even though you know what it's going to be, that is the effectiveness of anticipatory surprise. Remember, the anticipatory surprise does not have to be funny. It merely needs to be unexpected and highly relevant to the sales message.
An Easter message from Focus on the Family and this station.
They arrested him, period.
Jesus of Nazareth, come with us.
They convicted him, period.
He has spoken blasphemy.
They mocked him, period. They crucified him, period. They killed him, comma.
It is finished.
Seal the tomb.
They've taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where to find him.
He is not here. He is risen, just as he said.
I have seen the Lord.
Reach out your hand. Put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe.
My Lord and my God, Jesus, coming back soon.
The moment of anticipatory surprise came during the pause that preceded the word comma. Even though we're examining the use of anticipatory surprise, I doubt you can predict what the surprise will be in this next commercial.
Are steroids the best way to develop big muscles?
Basketball's a tough game. So what's the big deal if I take steroids? If you ask me, all this hype about how bad they are is totally lame. And side effects, come on, give me a break. I mean, who cares if they stunt my growth? I'm already 6'2". And so what if steroids cause a little acne? I mean, what's an extra zit here or there? Come on, get a life. And kidney damage? Now there's a good one. It's just a scare tactic. Like even the guy who gets them for me says there's no proof. And why would I doubt him? About the only side effect I've ever noticed is that my voice has gotten a bit lower. Hey, that's just sexier anyway.
Come on, Sue-Ann! Time for shoot-around!
I'm coming!
Sue-Ann, get the lead out! Go!
Hey, look, I said I'm coming!
Athletes who look for miracles hurt their bodies and their performance. Build muscles without risking your health by following a sensible diet and training program. Brought to you by the Dairy Farmers of Washington.
That's a very good commercial. It could have been stronger, though, if they had omitted the opening question. They began by asking, are steroids the best way to develop big muscles? They didn't need to telegraph the message. They could have begun with a monologue by Sue-Ann. But it did make very good use of anticipatory surprise. The anticipatory surprise should not be a joke, even if it's humorous. The problem with jokes is they get old fast. How many times do you want to hear the same joke? But if the humor of the surprise lies in the character's attitude, you can enjoy it again and again. Here's a very distinctive way to utilize the anticipatory surprise.
Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries presents beautiful songs for beautiful people who needed beautiful furniture.
Futon baby, it's so ugly.
But it was my brothers, fraternity brothers.
But who calls the shots now?
Well, you call the shots now.
It's Lazy Boy, or you're cut off.
We're going to Lazy Boy
Furniture Gallery.
We're getting the sofa now.
A beautiful sofa now.
And I won't be sleeping on it.
Thank you, Lazy Boy
Furniture Gallery.
Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Beautiful people, beautiful furniture.
The next time you heard that commercial, wouldn't you look forward to the moment when the man suddenly changes his tune, almost literally? Empathetic identification. Empathy is simply putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Empathy is not the same as sympathy. Empathy is imagining how you would react to the situation another person is in. As an advertising tool, empathetic identification is very powerful. Here's a commercial that makes very good use of sound. It avoids the trap of too much copy, and it allows the listener to identify with the person whose exciting day is described by the announcer.
Dawn's first light. You're already awake, waiting. It won't be time to get up for at least another hour. You close your eyes. Your thoughts race ahead to the day's approaching departure, heart pounding. You wait some more. You roll over, remembering how it all happened. It was the radio, CKLW. You won that all-expense-paid family vacation for 4 to Walt Disney World. 5 days and 4 nights at the Hotel Royal Plaza. You sit up. Still too early. You lie down. A million images play inside your head. CKLW, Eastern Airlines, Big Thunder Mountain, Disney's newest adventure, and the old runaway mine train. You won that when you guessed its secret number in the CKLW high-low game. You punched the pillow. It's not time to get up yet. But soon.
Remember, in just a few more minutes, it'll be time to call in your number to win that trip to Disney World from CKLW.
Empathetic identification simply means you're imagining how exciting that would be as you wait for the alarm to ring and you look forward to taking that trip. It's really not difficult to do. It's simply putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Here is another very different example of empathetic identification by Earl Palmer Brown.
Just learn to read. You gotta go with the flow, so to say, so let yourself go. It's so easy.
Meet Doug Hill. He's making up to $12 an hour doing this.
You gotta play your time, say.
He has flexible hours, has received plenty of training for his job, and is obviously enjoying himself. So how did he get this gig? Well, he went to Pizza Hut and said, I want to earn $8 to $12 an hour for driving around and singing along with the radio. And I also want to be eligible for benefits. So they said, sure, as long as you drop off a few pizzas for us. So there you have it. Working as a Pizza Hut delivery driver pays great.
You gotta learn to live. You gotta learn to relax.
And it clearly doesn't require an exceptional amount of talent. If you're 18 or older, have your own car, and meet certain requirements, you could be qualified to be a Pizza Hut delivery driver. For more information, stop by a Pizza Hut near you. Pizza Hut is an equal opportunity employer.
I think that's one of the best commercials I've ever heard. Did you notice that they did not talk about Pizza Hut, about how many convenient locations they have, whether or not they're the #1 pizza delivery service in the country, or if they have the best pizza or the lowest prices or a special 2-for-1 offer this month only? None of those would help the goal of this commercial, which was to attract young adults to deliver pizzas for them. It's empathetic because it shows us what it's like to be a Pizza Hut delivery driver. It also uses multiple modalities to deliver that message. It's auditory. We hear him singing along. It's kinesthetic. You can feel him bouncing along to the music in the car. And it's visual. as you see him driving and singing along with the radio. Finally, one more example of using empathetic identification.
Fred, I just heard the great news. Congratulations on winning in the Maryland State Lottery.
Well, thanks. It was a chance of a lifetime. Get it? The chance
right.
of...
Listen, Fred, I hope winning the lottery won't make you forget your old friends.
Are you kidding, Larry?
Dave?
Dave, I'm not that sort of guy. A little wealth won't change me. I was saying to my wife, Alice, Grace, as I left the house this morning, the guys down at... wherever I work, they're going to see the same old Ralph, Fred that they've always seen. I'm going to park my Rolls Royce right in there with their decrepit old subcompacts.
Well, that's great to hear, Fred. I just bought a couple of dollar tickets for me and the little old lady, and frankly, I wouldn't care if it changed me.
Dan. Dave, you'll feel differently. I go home as usual, open the paper, check my lottery number, pet my faithful dog Bowser, Rollo, and contemplate the stock market.
Hey, listen, how much did you win, Fred?
$5. You got to play to win, Carl. Dave.
That commercial used 3 techniques very effectively. First, emotion. It evoked in the listener the emotion of hope, the desire to change one's life. And it did so by getting listeners to empathize with the lottery winner, to imagine how their lives would be changed if they were to win the lottery. And it concluded with an anticipatory surprise, the moment when we discovered he had won only $5. And I'm sure you noticed that the surprise was at the end of the spot. And I'm sure you noticed that wonderful little pause before the surprise was revealed. The Roger Bannister effect. If consumers don't know it can be done, show them. If you're introducing a new product or service, don't start by talking about all the benefits of that product or service, because the consumers don't even know it exists. First, show them what it does and how it works. On May 6, 1954, Roger Bannister accomplished what many believed to be physically impossible. He ran a mile in less than 4 minutes. Sports commentators said it was inconceivable for an athlete to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Physiologists at the time thought both the body and mind were incapable of such an effort, and that at that speed the body's cellular structure would collapse. It simply was accepted that no human would ever break the 4-minute mile barrier. Most athletes believed that too. Why not? All the experts told them, so it never even occurred to them to try to do it. You might assume that what happened on that day in 1954 was Bannister was competing in a race, and he ran as fast as he could, and after it was over, he discovered he had set a new world record. What really happened was Bannister believed he could break the 4-minute mile and trained for months to do just that. And on May 6, 1954, he set out to prove to the world and to himself that he was right, and he ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. That was the first known instance in history of a human being running a mile in less than 4 minutes. 35 years later, in 1990, Sports Illustrated listed Bannister's performance as one of the top 10 all-time moments in sports history. And how long do you think it was before the second person in history ran a mile in less than 4 minutes? 46 days. What happened? Did other athletes suddenly get faster? No. Bannister showed them they could do it. A 4-minute mile isn't such a big deal anymore. Not since Roger Bannister showed the world that it could be done. If you happen to be a boxing fan, I have a question for you. Before they ever stepped into the ring together for the first time, how did Evander Holyfield know he could knock out Mike Tyson? It was not because of Holyfield's positive mental attitude. He knew he could knock out Mike Tyson because several years earlier, Buster Douglas fought Mike Tyson in Tokyo and knocked him out. Until that moment, all the boxing experts knew that Mike Tyson was invincible, unstoppable, and unbeatable. But when Holyfield saw Tyson get counted out that night in Tokyo, Holyfield knew that Tyson could be beaten, could be stopped, and could even be knocked out. If you have a new product or service, first you have to show your target audience that such a thing can be done before you can get them to consider making the purchase. Here is a commercial from a number of years ago that introduced something that very few people had experienced at that time, or even realized they could do.
Spray of water falls from a hose at the feet of a chubby 3-year-old. In this photograph, the clean smell of the water seems to rise from the image. The boy comes toward us. He has an adult's Panama hat down around his ears. He is your son 15 years back. The power of photography. What if you could have it all yourself? If you had a digital camera, a photo scanner, and your own photo printer, could you produce real photographs at home? You could. The HP PhotoSmart system, only from Hewlett-Packard.
That commercial alone is not enough to convince me to go out and buy the HP photo system. But until I heard that commercial a number of years ago, it never occurred to me that I could develop and print my own photos on my home computer and printer. Before this commercial, the odds of me ever buying what they're advertising were 0. Now they're more than 0. They painted a picture, told a story, and planted a seed that introduced that new service or product. First, you see yourself with the benefits of the product. Then you can see yourself using the product. Here's another example of the Roger Bannister effect.
Greetings. This is your email. Thanks to Personal Telecom from jfax.com, you can now listen to me over the phone. In fact, you can get all your faxes, email, and voice messages by phone or PC. Let's say you are schmoozing with the CEO before a presentation to shareholders when you get an email that says, "Hey Larry, I accidentally gave you last year's sales numbers. This is when I rescue your career. Just call and I will read this email over the phone. You can forward it to the nearest fax machine and change the numbers before your CEO is forced to resign." You see, Personal Telecom from jfax.com is essential. Sign up today and get your faxes, email, and voice messages in one convenient place. Do it before you say arrivederci to your career.
Don't go another day without Personal Telecom. Sign up now at jfax.com or call 1-888-GET-JFAX and we'll waive the $15 activation fee. Offer ends soon. Some restrictions may apply.
Never miss a message again.
Now, you might not be stampeding to sign up for JFax, but now you've been introduced to the concept of having your faxes and emails read to you over the phone by a digitized computer voice, and you heard it. That's introducing a new service. That's creating a Roger Bannister effect. If you simply said, "It's the greatest thing ever. You can get all of your faxes and emails in one place and our computer will read it to you over the phone," people would say, "What? I'm sorry, I can't handle all that new information." Okay, let me show you. Let me demonstrate it for you. Oh, okay. Now I understand. The rehearsal effect. One day when I was in junior high school, our basketball coach told us, "Before you practice your free throws, I want you to stand and imagine that you are shooting 20 in a row that go right in the basket. That will help you improve your actual free throw percentage." And I remember asking, "Coach, why will that help?" And he said, "Because you're visualizing." Uh-huh. Well, thanks for telling me what it's called, Coach, but why will that help? At which point he gave me the answer that all junior high school coaches give when they don't know the answer to your question: take a lap. And it wasn't until years later, during my hypnosis training, that I learned why. There is something called the micromuscular effect. And if you imagine standing at the free throw line, taking your free throws, your body mimics that action on a micromuscular level. Your body takes the same actions that are required to actually shoot a free throw, but it does so on a very, very small scale. You actually are physically rehearsing the act of shooting the basketball. That technique does help, but not because you're visualizing. It helps because you are rehearsing. There is something that most car dealers know, that all people who create advertising should know, and that is 1 out of every 30 persons who walks into an automobile showroom ends up buying a car from that dealer. But there is one easy thing the car dealer can do to drop that ratio from 1 out of 30 to just 1 out of 7. To make it so that 1 out of every 7 potential customers who enters the showroom ends up buying a car from that dealer. What is that one easy thing? Have the customer take a test drive. 1 out of every 7 potential customers who test drive a car ends up buying a car from the dealer that gave them the test drive. In your commercials, let the targeted consumer take a test drive. We just took a test drive in that JFax commercial. Let the consumers use the product. Let them experience the service. A number of years ago, the television show The Simpsons had enough episodes completed that they could enter syndication. Instead of airing only once a week, the show would also be on every weekday. So they launched an advertising campaign that was not designed to get people who had never seen the program to watch it. It was not designed to get people who had seen but disliked the program to watch it. It was designed to get people who had seen the show and do like it to watch it in syndication.
And now, Mr. Robert Goulet reads from The Writings of Bart, the collected after-school blackboard writings of young Bart Simpson. Mr. Goulet.
I will not trade pants with others. I will not do that thing with my tongue. I will not Xerox my butt. A burp is not an answer. I will not pledge allegiance to Bart. I will not eat things for money. I will not bring sheep to class. I will not instigate revolution. My name is not Dr. Death.
To experience all of Bart's blackboard writings, watch every classic episode of The Simpsons.
I will not call the principal Spudhead.
The Simpsons, now 5 times a week.
Now, if you're a Simpsons fan, then among other things, I'm guessing that as you listened to that commercial, you pictured Bart writing at the blackboard. And if you're a Simpsons fan, you know that every episode of that program begins that way, with Bart writing at that blackboard. And if that's what you pictured, then you just rehearsed the act of acting on the sales message of that commercial. That is, the act of watching the beginning of an episode of The Simpsons. Here's a commercial that should have utilized the rehearsal effect.
You found high-quality music online. You booked your vacation online. You found your car online. You found your trousers online. Why not find your next apartment online? ApartmentGuide.com. Point, click, rent.
Commercials for websites should almost always offer a test drive experience. That's because to get the value of a website, you need to do something. And if someone's never been to that website, that person has to be shown what to do or how to do it. This particular commercial spent 25 seconds talking about other things, and then at the last moment threw in the name of the advertiser and their slogan. You could have substituted any number of other websites for this particular sponsor, and the commercial would have been just as effective, or more accurately, just as ineffective. This should have been a test drive. Show us, from the user's perspective, how the website works and how it benefits the consumer. Here's a commercial that illustrates the results of the product via a test drive.
For all the rhythm in the hands, for all the highs and leads, for all the bass in the backup, for all the harmony you need, for all the mood in the melody, the power in the song, for singing it out and keeping it strong, for the type, for the tape, for the facts, just ask Max. Maxell Audio. Just ask Max. Maxell Audio.
Great sound starts with the right audio tape. The right audio tape starts with Maxell. Now every new Maxell package tells you exactly what you need to know. Want great sound on your Walkman? Want the right tape for your CDs? Check the pack. Get the facts. Just ask Max.
Type for the tape, for the facts. Just ask Max. Maxell Audio. Just ask Max. Whoa, whoa.
This commercial by Jeff Davis allows the targeted consumer to rehearse the act of responding to the sales message.
Over the next 2 weeks, Americans will be glued to the TV set, watching the games, cheering for the USA. Yay! But as you sit captive by your enthusiasm, your thirst and hunger will no doubt grow to Herculean proportions. What will you do? What will you do?
Pizza Hut delivery.
Yes! With incredible coordination and skill, you juggle 2 remotes in one hand, reach over the dog, beyond the lamp, and snag the phone from the cradle. Overcoming the obstacles, you seize the moment and phone Pizza Hut for their special You buy the deep dish, we buy the toppings pizza. That's right. Buy a large deep dish pizza for just $9.99 and you get up to 2 toppings absolutely free. Pick your favorite toppings like sausage,
9.9.
mushrooms,
9.9.
anchovies,
5.5.
pepperoni.
A perfect 10.
In a show of support to our national heroes, Pizza Hut presents You buy the deep dish, we buy the toppings. Call for delivery so you don't miss a minute of the action. Now let the games begin. Pizza Hut, you're going to love the stuff we're made of.
First, they pace your experience of watching the Olympics on your TV set and getting hungry. And then they let you rehearse the act of picking up the phone and ordering their pizza. Here's a recruitment commercial by Chris Levy that offers a test drive.
It's the only job where you can come and be in a good mood all day long.
I like the hours, especially because I have 2 kids and I work the same hours that they're in school.
We like to promote within, too.
We have opportunities here for people to dance.
It's really good to work for a company that first and foremost recognizes that you've done a good job and tells you thank you.
Kind of like a family atmosphere.
And the money.
And the money.
My first day, I actually got 3 cells.
The money is great.
If you don't like your environment, you don't love your job, there's no reason to be there.
If you don't love your job, call Grand Vista Vacations at 823-7229.
We dance, we do the dip, we do it all. And we sell and make money, too.
Recruitment advertising is especially appropriate for the test drive approach. If you can get the targeted audience to share the positive experience of what it's like to work there, you have a much better chance of succeeding. Here's another test drive commercial from Cliff Freeman and Partners.
Hollywood Video presents 60-Second Theater, where we try, unsuccessfully, to pack all the action and suspense of a 2-hour Hollywood production into 60 seconds. Today's presentation, Scream 2.
Well, it's just us 7 incredibly attractive sorority girls here alone in our nightgowns. Must kill. Did you hear something? I'll go outside alone and investigate. Must kill. What was that? I'll go check. Must kill. There's a noise again. I'm scared.
Let's stick together.
I've got a better plan. Lois, you hide in the utility shed with the gas-powered cutting and shearing equipment. Okay. Cece, you go up to the dark and slippery roof and hide right near the edge. All right. Holly, whatever you do, don't leave my side. Good idea. I have to go to the bathroom. Oh, there's an old outhouse near the swamp. Perfect.
Bye.
Must kill. Must kill. Must kill. Doc, all ready? Must kill. Oh my, good thing I took that kickboxing class. He sure looks dead. No, I'm not. I can't think of a better time to turn my back and put my guard down. Must.
If this doesn't satisfy your urge to see Scream 2, and we can't say we blame you, then rent it today at Hollywood Video, where Scream 2 is guaranteed to be in stock or next time it's free. Welcome to Hollywood. Hollywood Video.
Now, if you've never seen that kind of dumb teen slasher movie, that commercial won't make you want to rent the video. And if you've seen that kind of dumb teen slasher movie and you don't like the genre, you're not likely to rent the video either. But if you're a fan of that genre, you might very well rent that video, because they just took you on a test drive that reminded you of what that particular experience is like. Here's another test drive commercial from Dick Terhune.
Marley was dead to begin with. Dead as a doornail.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
Humbug.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lip should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance of escaping my fate, Ebenezer.
Spirit, hear me! I am not the man I was!
The Warner Theatre presents Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Saturday and Sunday, December 15th and 16th. Reserve tickets available at the Warner box office, 489-7180. Sponsored by FM 97.3 WZBG.
You were just given a test drive of a performance of A Christmas Carol. Another test drive commercial.
Our top business story. Will the merger of Reeves Industries and Allen Oil refineries affect the nation's petroleum reserves? Housing starts, which dipped last November, are up again this month, which experts say is a good sign for the... Hello?
Hi, it's Bob.
Yes?
I don't want to know about this.
Oh, okay.
I want you to talk about boxing.
Okay.
Then I'd like to hear some movie reviews.
Right.
And if there's any news from the insurance industry, the latest health news.
Good idea.
Then you can end with, let's see.
Traffic?
No.
Weather?
No, that's dumb. Golf.
Okay. Now, you want the intro music again? Gotcha. No more music.
It sort of hit us that the ultimate news program would be one that you program. And it wouldn't just have news, horoscopes, personal stock portfolios, whatever you're into. It's called My Yahoo, and it's free at yahoo.com. My Yahoo. Yeah, it sounds dirty, but trust us, it isn't. Do you, Yahoo?
Now, that's not really how myyahoo.com works. You don't get to call the newscaster and issue orders. But you were given a metaphorical test drive of what it would be like to decide exactly what kind of news you would like presented to you and how you want that news presented. Remember, in advertising, your goal is to get the targeted consumer to test drive not the product, but the results of the product.
The time traveller opened the door of the time machine and said,
"It is a far, far better thing that I do than I've ever done."
Then Robinson Crusoe turned to Man Friday
and gently stroking Lady Chatterley's thigh said,
"Oh, Heathcliff, I love you."
"Curiouser and curiouser," cried Alice.
And the hobbits laughed gleefully
as the cold, silent figure of Big Brother watched on.
Alongside these classics at your local library, you'll find the very latest titles too, from best-selling authors such as Nick Hornby, Joanna Trollope, John Grisham and Bill Bryson. Kent County Council Arts and Libraries. Are you getting the most out of yours?
That test drive commercial by Roger Wilco Productions increased local library membership by 19%. Advertising should sell results, not products or services. Here's another commercial that test drives the results.
You are about to hear an amazing commercial, not because of anyone famous or funny jokes, but 2 years ago it would have been impossible. Back then I couldn't read. I'm Weldon Ransom. It's amazing to me that I can read now, and that someone took an hour or two a week to tutor me in reading for free through Literacy Volunteers of America here in Dallas. I hope you can help Literacy Volunteers with your time or a donation. It would be amazing if you could. Call Literacy Volunteers at 670-7836. Thank you.
You've just test-driven the results of Literacy Volunteers of America. Can you offer a musical test drive of a non-musical product? Sure.
I'm a healthy mushroom, short and sweet. The veggie people love to eat. Dice me up with pork mince, chili sauce. Add a dash of soy, of course. Deck me out in my wonton costume. Steam 4 minutes, then consume.
There's nothing little about mushrooms. Big taste, big flavor. So grab a big bagful today.
No mushrooms were harmed during the making of this commercial, but one was eaten.
Selling is educating, and that commercial educates the consumer by showing them how to cook with mushrooms. Here's another in the series, produced by Mark Murphy.
We're a group of mushrooms, short and sweet. This recipe's a true blue treat. Fry us up with onions, finely sliced. Tomato, parsley, sounds nice. Mix us with some minced egg and breadcrumb. Shape us into rissoles,
There's nothing little about mushrooms. Big taste, big flavor. So grab a big bagful today.
No mushrooms were harmed during the making of this commercial, but 5 were bitten.
Notice they didn't just talk or even sing about mushrooms. They enabled you to see how easy it is to follow that recipe. In other words, they gave you a test drive. Mark Murphy and his team also offered test drives of, well, let's listen.
I'm here at the Amplimesh showroom. With me is the boss, Bob. Show me the new Amplimesh ClearGuard security door.
You're looking at one.
What?
You're looking right through one.
This is the ClearGuard door.
Yeah.
Amazing. I can see right through it. No ugly bars. I can see the roof. I can see the ceiling. I can
Amplimesh ClearGuard. There's no other security door like it. It can't be jimmied, slit, battered or kicked in. But because it's made from stainless steel mesh, the choice has never been clearer. Amplimesh ClearGuard. For your nearest Amplimesh store, call 13 16 51.
That is a highly visual demonstration of a product whose strongest selling point is visual. That is, it's nearly invisible. And it gives you a test drive of just how non-intrusive those security doors are. Here's another spot from the same campaign. Still visual, still offering a test drive.
Down here at the Amplimesh showroom, we're about to witness master door tester Lee Kwang-dol. First, the leaping, screaming kick. Now, the famous tomahawk test.
Amplimesh ClearGuard. There's no other security door like it. Made with stainless steel mesh and tough aluminium frame. It's super strong and super safe. Drop in and test it yourself. The choice has never been clearer. Amplimesh ClearGuard. For your nearest Amplimesh store, call 13 16 51.
And here's one last spot from that campaign, offering a highly visual test drive.
I'm with Esme Walton in her home. Esme recently had Amplimesh ClearGuard security doors and windows installed. Would you mind showing us where they are?
Well, over there.
Where?
There.
Where?
Those sliding doors, dear, opening onto the patio. Be careful, dear. Oh.
Amplimesh ClearGuard. There's no other security door like it. Made with stainless steel mesh and tough aluminium frame. The choice has never been clearer. Amplimesh ClearGuard. For your nearest Amplimesh store, call 13 16 51.
Here's an example of a great campaign you might remember, but I had to hear this commercial quite a few times before I realized the true reason it's so effective.
I understand some of you have been turning to self-help books and motivational speakers as a source of inspiration. Well, not me. My inspiration comes from the common man and what he must do to make it a Bud Light.
Well, me and my wife were shopping for groceries. We'd go once a week.
They go shopping once a week?
So we get to the beer case and I get a six-pack of Bud Light. Well, she tells me to put it back.
She tells him to put it back.
She says she's sick of me picking the beer. She wants to pick it.
She wants to pick it.
So I said, fine, go ahead. So she picks up the Bud Light and puts it in the cart.
She puts the Bud Light in the cart.
Yeah, she wanted the Bud Light the whole time. It's like she was playing with my mind or something.
Playing with your mind, was she? Well, it's obvious who won that little round of emotional warfare.
Who?
So, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
No, seriously, who?
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Did you notice the anticipatory surprise when the guy says, who? But here's why I think this is a brilliant commercial. What did you picture as you listened? The couple in the grocery store? And perhaps someone putting the Bud Light in the cart? Twice? And everyone who heard that commercial mentally rehearsed the act of putting the Bud Light in the cart twice. The overall writing, performance, and production were brilliant, but the real power came from the rehearsal effect. This next commercial from the same campaign offers a similar rehearsal effect, perhaps not quite as vividly as the one we just heard.
Today, I'd like to talk to you on a very serious note, because this is the story of a man overcoming monumental physical pain and suffering to make it a Bud Light. There's nothing funny about what you're about to hear.
Well, actually, it is kind of funny.
Work with me, son.
Okay, I was at a ball game.
He was at a ball game!
Yep. And so, like, when I saw the Bud Light vendor, I went to raise my arm so he'd see me.
His arm arose!
Exactly, but I hit my funny bone on the seat next to him.
No, no, no!
Yeah, so I just raised my other arm instead and, got his attention and the Bud Light.
He got the Bud Light! Young man, do you ever look back and wonder what would have happened if you'd just given up, if you hadn't followed your dream of making it a Bud Light?
Not really.
Probably a wise idea. So, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
The heavy emphasis on comedy somewhat overshadowed the image of someone asking for a Bud Light, but it does help build the association it was aiming for. When you're at a ball game, ask for a Bud Light. Polarity response. Polarity response is my favorite thing in all of psychology because I am afflicted with it. If you have polarity response and someone tells you to do something, you will do anything but what they told you to do. It's what we used to call reverse psychology. The best example of utilizing the polarity response I've ever seen in my real life was by my mother. One evening, she found herself having to prepare dinner for 4 grandchildren between the ages of 4 and 6. And if you've ever tried to make dinner for several young children, you know it's not an easy task, because each of them likes only one food, and they won't tell you which food that is. So my mother put the food down on the table, and in a moment of inspiration she said, "I don't want anybody to eat anything that they don't like." And guess what her grandchildren said? "We can if we want to." That is using the polarity response. For most healthy people, if you push their buttons too hard, they will push back. Because I am familiar with the phenomenon of polarity response, which is simply the fact that many people just don't like being told what to do, when I conduct live seminars, I am very unlikely to begin by telling people to please take your seats. Instead, I will say something like, "Feel free to take your coffee to your seat and make yourself comfortable." Linguistically, I am not telling people to sit down. I am inviting them to make themselves comfortable. And in phrasing my request that way, I avoid any unconscious power struggles that might otherwise arise. That's how a good hypnotherapist or a good psychotherapist works, too. Instead of saying to the new client, "So, sit down and tell me about yourself," which linguistically is constituted as a direct order and which can easily trigger a polarity response, a good therapist will gesture broadly toward the only available chair in the office and say, "Please make yourself comfortable." Now, the real message, what in NLP is referred to as the meta message, is sit in that chair. After all, there isn't anywhere else for the person to sit, and the client is unlikely to stretch out on the office floor in order to be comfortable, but the message is delivered in the form of a carefully worded invitation, not a command. There was a psychotherapist named Frank Farrelly who wrote a wonderful book called Provocative Therapy. In this book, Farrelly described how he would deal with a typical new client who was suffering from depression. The client would sit down. Farrelly would ask, "So, what's your problem?" And the client might reply, "I'm just a loser." Now, at this point, the client is expecting to be reassured by the therapist that he is not a loser. But Farrelly would say, "Yeah, just from meeting you, I can tell that you're the kind of person who's never been able to do a single thing correctly in his entire life. I doubt you've ever had any success at anything, that there is nothing you can do well, that no one has ever liked you, that you've never been able to help anyone else with their problems, you've got no friends, never have had any friends, and you've never, ever been able to do anything right." And what do you suppose the client would say in response? He'd say something like, "Well, that's not really true. There are a couple of things I'm pretty good at. Yeah, I do know 1 or 2 people who seem to like me well enough." Farrelly would push the client so hard in one direction that the client automatically would push back in the opposite direction. As someone who suffers from polarity response, if you tell me to do something, I'm very unlikely to do it. If you ask me, I might. And a lot of people are like that. In fact, most people are like that if you push them past a certain point. And you can use this principle in advertising if you push your target audience past that certain point so that they push back in the direction you want them to push. Here's a commercial that uses polarity response to get people to sign up with a new gas company rather than the gas company everyone has been using forever.
Mrs. Gooch, you haven't switched from British Gas to Amarada, have you?
No, I haven't.
You do know that if you do switch, they don't have to dig up your garden or change the pipes or
Yeah.
anything like that, don't you?
Yes.
And in fact, all you have to do is just fill in a form.
Yes.
But you're still not going to switch to Amarada.
No. No, I'm not.
Can I ask you why?
Yes. I believe that the Amarada Company is actually a front for an alien invasion force from the Nexus star system, who are planning to convert all of the Earth's fresh water into space cheese.
Fair enough.
If you've got one good reason not to buy your gas from Amarada, we'd love to hear it. Free phone Amarada on 0500 001100.
That uses polarity response because on some level, we are waiting for that guy to say, "Excuse me, but that's crazy." And when he pauses and then says, "Fair enough," mentally we jump in and think, well, that's a crazy reason not to switch to Amarada gas. You'd have to be crazy not to. That commercial, by the way, also utilizes deletion because it never does verbalize that message that you'd have to be crazy not to switch to Amarada gas. Instead, it lets you make that connection for yourself. And you might also have noticed that that commercial utilizes anticipatory surprise. And the anticipation is heightened at the moment of pause, just before the man says, "Fair enough." Here's a soft drink commercial that makes use of the polarity response.
And I see splash of heavenly Sprite. Just one sip and everything will be alright.
Women will come flocking, violins will play for you. Sprite makes you popular.
Strangers say hello.
Even people that you stepped on say,
"Hi, way to go!"
Your complexion will improve, and you will find eternal youth. Yes, Sprite will make you great in everything you do. And if you believe this jingle, you should get a clue. You see, it really doesn't matter just what we sing. Image is nothing, thirst is everything. Obey your thirst. Right. Obey your thirst.
That commercial utilizes the polarity response in this manner. All during the commercial, you're thinking the opposite of what they're saying. Sprite won't make you popular. Sprite can't do all those things for you. And that leads to the true message of the campaign. All Sprite can do is quench your thirst. But first, they forced you to reach that conclusion by their insistence that a soft drink can change your life so dramatically. Here's another commercial from that campaign, again using polarity response to drive home the association between Sprite and your thirst.
Every day it's just the three of us, you, me, and our Sprite. All those cans and bottles, baby, it feels so right. Before we drank Sprite, you grossed me out, but now I'm ready to tie the knot. Thanks to Sprite, you won my heart, despite that mustache problem you've got. Sprite is why I love your dog breath and the jam between your toes. Sprite makes me love all that hair on your back and that nasty mole on your nose.
Wait a second. What are we saying? This jingle is full of lies.
All Sprite does is quench our thirst. It won't make your face easier on my eyes. So our romance is dead. Go sleep on the sofa bed. Here's a paper bag, put it over your head. Image is nothing.
Thirst is everything.
Obey your thirst.
Sprite.
Here's a subtle use of polarity response.
At 3 p.m., June 1995, Everton Baker replies to a classified advertisement in his local paper.
Personnel speaking, may I help you?
Hi, good day. I'm Mr. Baker, calling about the clerical assistance job that was advertised in the paper.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Baker, but the job's already been taken.
It was advertised this morning, you know.
Yes, we've had lots of inquiries and we have already filled the post, but do look out for further advertisements and apply again. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
1 hour later, Terry Lang responds to the same advertisement.
Personnel speaking, can I help you?
Yeah, hi there. I'm ringing about the clerical job that's advertised in the paper.
Yes, could I have your name, please?
That's Mr. Lang.
Mr. Lang. Could you come in at 10:30 next Tuesday?
Oh, yeah, that'd be lovely, thank you.
Good. You have the address, obviously, and everything?
Yes, I do.
Fine. See you then. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
The Commission for Racial Equality fights discrimination like this every day. Please report or challenge racism wherever it occurs.
That commercial uses polarity response by simply presenting the situation to you as it happens and allowing you to react to the blatant unfairness of the situation that was portrayed. In sales, there's something called the takeaway sale. That's essentially when you tell the potential customer he's not qualified to buy from you. In this next commercial, Dick Terhune uses the takeaway sale psychology to create a polarity response.
If you want a wheelbarrow, we can't help you. If you want a garden hose, we can't help you. If you want a power saw, we can't help you. If you want a lawn tractor, we can't help you. If you want to build a deck or dock, there we can help you. Because unlike those giant do-all hardware barns, Mahopac Railroad Tie does one thing, the only thing we ever have done, and we do it right. Pressure-treated lumber, mahogany, cedar, composites, that's what we do every day. When you're building a new deck or adding on to an existing one, maybe putting in a retaining wall, even a dock, just come to the one place that's been doing it since 1973, Mahopac Railroad Tie. Free delivery in most cases. You won't hurt our feelings if you go someplace else to buy windows. We don't do windows. But if you go to the window place and ask for cedar, mahogany, or pressure-treated lumber, well, they can't help you. Mahopac Railroad Tie. That's what we do. So call 914-628-8111.
By repeatedly saying, we can't help you, the listener is forced to wonder, what can they help me with? Blaine Parker uses a similar approach for a different kind of client.
Woodrow Woodson here for the Wood Lobby. If you're building a new house, use real wood. It's a natural. Building with wood contributes to deforestation. And really, who wants to see a bunch of old trees when you can have great American wide open spaces? And wood construction of your new home also provides shelter for all kinds of woodland creatures made homeless by deforestation. You know, furry little rodents with pointy teeth. Of course, your new wood home is also food for termites and food for fire. What's a good home without a good fire threat? Plus, fire's a great way to get rid of termites and little furry rodents with pointy teeth. Oh, and let's not forget rot. Wood rots! Yeah, and then we get to sell you more wood.
The home of your dreams should last forever. Call Livingston's Concrete and ask for information about exciting, versatile, and durable ICF construction. It looks great, saves money, and nobody wants to eat it. Call 916-334-4313. That's 334-4313. Livingston's Concrete, for the look of home sweet home without the wood taste.
And here's one last example of a commercial that uses the polarity response, this one by Steve McKenzie.
Tool Depot is awesome.
Tool Depot is ugly.
Tool Depot has lots of tools.
Tool Depot has no style.
Tool Depot has incredible prices.
Tool Depot smells like a garage.
You should see the selection.
You should see the location.
Saws, drills, wrenches, sanders. Every week there's always something new on sale.
Oh boy, a sale.
Tool Depot will meet or beat prices on any tool.
Tool Depot needs a facelift.
They carry names like Milwaukee, DeWalt, Bosch Skill, Ingersoll Rand, Campbell Husfeld, Makita, Porter Eagle, Channel Lock, Stanley, and others.
How boring.
Plus, they carry tools from IIT that come with a lifetime guarantee.
And this is exciting to you?
When I can get tools for $1 and bags of fasteners for $0.25, yes, it's exciting. Every week there's a new discount.
Tool Depot.
I love it.
I hate it.
Tool Depot. They're easy to find.
And hard to forget.
In Crest Hill on the corner of Larkin and Plainfield in the Hillcrest Shopping Center. Open 7 days a week.
That's 7 days too many.
Tool Depot.
It's not pretty.
It's awesome.
In that commercial, the polarity response is created by the woman who pushes the target audience, that's home handymen, into actively disagreeing with her, and thereby endorsing the advertiser. Preferred sense modalities. The three primary preferred sense modalities are sight, sound, and feeling, which can be either tactile or emotional. We also have olfactory, that's smell, and gustatory, that's taste. But the three primary modalities are sight, sound, and touch or feeling. Everyone uses all those modalities most of the time, but most of us have one preferred modality. For example, This either describes you or someone you know. Someone who, when parallel parking an automobile, always turns down the radio first. That describes roughly 30% of the general population. Those people are primarily auditory. Do you know why they turn down the radio before they can parallel park? Because they talk to themselves as they maneuver the car. Okay, let's see. Am I close enough? Oh, okay, back up. Anybody there? Am I close enough to the curb? They're talking to themselves. And if you do that, then I'm guessing you, primarily, are auditory. It's a fascinating experiment to come out of a movie theater and listen to different people comment on the technical aspects of the film. You'll have one group that will say, it was all blurry. Another group says, it wasn't blurry. I saw everything fine, but I couldn't hear a darn thing. Well, guess which group is visual and which group is auditory. And then there's the third group, the one that complains about how uncomfortable the seats were. Those are the kinesthetics. Kinesthetic is the fancy word we apply to feelings, whether it's emotional or touch. All of it is called kinesthetic. If you can identify the preferred sense modality of the person to whom you are speaking, speak that person's language. If you know someone's native language is French, and you want to communicate to that person, and you happen to speak perfect French, I'd suggest you talk to them in French. If you know they're primarily visual, speak in visual terms. In a few minutes, I'll share with you a partial list of visual terms that you can use to communicate effectively with a visual person. And you also can use these words to identify someone who is highly visual. This is an excellent exercise to try when talking to someone on the phone, for example. Jot down all the code words they use to signal to you what their preferred sense modality is. You'll be amazed how easy it is to pick up on these cues once you know to look for them, or to listen for them, or to develop a feel for them. There, I just expressed that thought in 3 different ways, one for each of the 3 preferred sense modalities. Here are 2 people who are talking to each other, but not really communicating, due to their different preferred modalities. See if you can spot the differences.
I don't know. There's something I'm not hearing in that commercial.
Well, I think the message is clear, don't you?
To tell the truth, I'm not sure what the problem is.
I think I see what you mean. You want to paint a picture in the consumer's eyes that shows off your product, but it doesn't appear to you that we've brought that into focus enough.
Well, I don't know. I guess maybe, in a manner of speaking. Listen, I'm just not sure what the problem is.
Okay, well, it's important to me that we see eye to eye on this. Look at it this way. In light of all the competition you face, it's important that when people see the word widgets, they automatically picture your widgets, right?
I suppose so. But in this commercial, it sounds to me like we're talking about one thing without really ringing a bell for our target audience.
Well, it looks like the problem might be that we're suffering from tunnel vision. It's clear to me now that this is a horse of a different color. Let me show you why this commercial will work for you.
I hear what you're saying, but it sounds like something that might make people tune out. I mean, all that noisy chatter.
As you probably figured out, one person was speaking in visual terms, while the other person was perceiving things from an auditory standpoint. Here is a partial list of verbal clues to help identify people who are highly visual. Notice if the people you talk to, the people you come into contact with every day, whether it's people you work with, people you sell to, people you represent, notice if they use words and phrases and terms like these. See what you mean. Just can't see it. Show, as in, let me show you, or, well, can you show me what you're talking about? Clear. Oh, now I've got a pretty clear idea. Now it's clear to me where you're going with this. Focus, as in, let me bring it into focus for you, or let's focus on just one thing. Appears. Well, it appears to me that the problem is beyond a shadow of a doubt. Clear cut. Eye to eye. flashed on. I just flashed on this idea. Horse of a different color. In light of. Well, in light of this new information. Well, in light of the fact that Dave doesn't want to. Looks like. Well, it looks to me like this project is, not going to work. Paint a picture. Okay, let me paint a picture for you, all right? See to it. Sight for sore eyes. Tunnel vision. Watch, as in, watch this. Okay, just watch what happens. Or even watch out. Expose. Attractive. Dark. Appear. Reveal. Okay, let's reveal the big surprise. Look at it this way. Or just plain, look. Has anyone ever begun a sentence to you by saying, look? I'm guessing so many times you've lost. There's no way you could count. Look, there's no way. Okay. You probably have heard those phrases all your life. If you notice someone who uses some of those phrases regularly, I suggest that you do not say to them, well, it sounds to me like you hear this campaign is making a big noise in the marketing world, huh? How does this feel to you? Are you getting a handle on it? There, you began speaking in auditory terms and then switched to kinesthetic, but the person you're talking to is highly visual. Meanwhile, here are some code words that are commonly used by people who are highly auditory. Loud and clear. I hear you. Sounds like, or sounds to me, hearing the message. Are you hearing the message? Ring a bell. Oh, that rings a bell. Or clear as a bell. Describe it for you. In other words, to say describe, you're going to talk. Let me describe it for you. Earful. Okay. Boy, did he give me an earful. He granted me an audience. An audience is someone who sits and listens while someone talks. Idle talk. I don't have time for idle talk or idle chatter. Talk about it. Talk to me. Hey, let's talk. In a manner of speaking. Has anyone ever begun a sentence with this word? Listen. Listen, I don't know what he told you. Outspoken. To tell the truth. That's auditory because of the word tell. Tune out. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I just kind of tuned out for a moment. What did you say? That's an auditory person. Word for word. Quiet. Noisy. Chatter. Mention. That's a form of speech. I'll mention it to him. Didn't you mention yesterday? If someone says, didn't you mention that yesterday, they're remembering the words or trying to remember the words that you used. Echo. Well, I've got to echo Bob's comments there. Silence. Shout. Well, those colors just shout to the world that you're, trying to get attention. Tell. Okay, let me tell you how it's going to be. Lecture. Don't lecture me. I don't need to hear a speech from you. Translates. Okay, well, all of this translates into the fact that you don't want to do this. That's basically what you're telling me, right? Announce. I'd like to announce that from now on, all of those are auditory. In some ways, I get the biggest kick out of kinesthetic code words because they're so obvious once they're pointed out to you, but you don't usually think about them otherwise. By the way, that sentence was highly visual. Obvious, pointed out to you. Kinesthetic code words include feel. You ever heard anyone use the word feel? I feel that you're way off base here. Rough. Okay, I've got a rough idea of where you're going with this. And also going is kinesthetic because kinesthetic includes movement. Remember, it's both touch and movement, and it's also emotion. Smooth. Okay, I'll smooth the way for you. Don't worry about it. I'll smooth this out. Grab or grabs. How's that grab you? I know that really grabs me by the heart here. Boils down to. What it all boils down to is this. Get in touch with. Hold it, hold it. Keep your shirt on. Get the drift? Lay my cards on the table. Let me lay my cards on the table. That's kinesthetic. Following. I'm not following you. Slipped. Ooh, that slipped my mind. That one slipped between the cracks. Start from scratch. Hard. I'm having a hard time with this. Hurt. Now that really hurts our efforts. Sweep. Boy, we're going to sweep the floor with those guys. Flop. Pressure. Bounce. We'll bounce back. Comfortable. I'm comfortable with that. Break, as in, let's break the mold. Let's break free from what everyone else thinks we should do. Pulls. Boy, that really pulls on me. It really pulls me right to where you want me to go. Pushes. Hey, you're pushing. Okay, don't push me. I don't like pushy people. Skipped. Wait a minute, you skipped like 3 steps here. Let's back up. Now, notice how kinesthetic words and terms go together. If someone says you skipped 3 steps, it's completely natural for them to say, let's back up. Those are both kinesthetic. Weigh. Let's weigh our options. Let's weigh the situation. Those are kinesthetic terms. Again, in an interpersonal situation, especially if you're selling, look for these verbal clues. If it's a telephone conversation, sit there with a pad and write down every code word the other person utters. If you examine that list later, you'll discover the key to communicating to them very directly. Listen to the other person's predicates and respond accordingly. Literally speak their language. If they're speaking visually, then you should speak visually too. All of us rely on certain of our senses more than others. Many people are primarily visual. Many others favor auditory channels. Those are the methods by which we most effectively process information. In a room full of radio professionals, we can expect lots of auditory processors. So I am not going to use a lot of slides and overheads and PowerPoint presentations and computer graphics if I'm talking to a room full of radio professionals. I will talk to those people and I will illustrate the principles I'm talking about with audio tapes whenever possible. But if it's a room full of theatrical set designers, I'll choose visual modes of communication. Lots of color, lots of visuals, lots of pictures, lots of illustrations. You don't play audio tapes for set designers. So what you do is identify the preferred modality of your targeted customer. And sometimes it's real easy. For example, if you're selling musical instruments, what modality should you use? Auditory. When you play your new sousaphone from Sousaphones R Us, your friends will tell you how great you sound. What if you're selling, let's say, a skiing package or a ski lodge? You'd use kinesthetic language. Don't talk about how beautiful the sun looks as it reflects off the snow. Don't talk about the excited screams of skiers as they race downhill. Use kinesthetic language, the feel of speed, of the wind, the snow crackling beneath your feet. If you're selling landscaping, what modality do you speak to? Visual. Imagine having your own green rolling lawn. Art supplies would require visual language. What about a restaurant? For a restaurant, I would go with the two modalities that are used least often, olfactory and gustatory. Olfactory, of course, is smell. Gustatory is taste. It certainly may also be kinesthetic, the feeling of being well fed. If you're going to sell the feeling you'll have when you leave the restaurant, then you probably will communicate kinesthetically. Okay, here's a toughie. What about an airline? Well, it depends. If you're selling the destination, you might speak visually, painting a picture of how beautiful or exotic the locale is. But if you're an airline selling the comfort of the flight, you should be speaking kinesthetically. Would you say, as you step onto the new American Airlines 777, you will notice the bright new decor and see how much extra space you have? No, that's visual. You'd say, as you sit down in your luxurious leather seat and stretch your legs as far as they can go, and you still can't reach the seat in front of you. Or if an airline is selling on time and reliability, what modality should they use? Kinesthetic. There, you're selling the reassurance, the safety, the comfort, the sense of well-being. Those are feelings, and feelings are kinesthetic. By the way, if you work for or own a radio station and you're advertising that station, which modality do you think you should stress? I'll give you a moment to think about that one. The answer is, when advertising your own radio station, you should speak kinesthetically, because you're selling not just audio and not just theater of the mind, you're selling an experience. Good radio affects people. It moves them in some way. So don't sell the sounds of your station. Sell the experience it promises to provide its listeners. Matching the modality of your targeted consumer is smart and can be very powerful. On the other hand, mismatching the modality can practically guarantee that your commercial has virtually no impact on your targeted audience. Earlier, I shared with you an example of an advertising person who was not speaking the client's language. The client obviously was highly auditory, while the advertising person was speaking visually. Is it really possible for someone who creates commercials to choose the wrong modality for the commercial itself? It sure is. Here's an example.
If the award-winning Epson Stylus C80 printer were a singer, it would give you all this color, all this detail, and with black text of up to 20 pages per minute, it would also give you all this speed. All this without ever missing a beat. Baby.
The Epson Stylus C80 printer has new DuraBrite inks for up to 70-year light resistance and incredible speed for just $149 after a $30 mail-in rebate. No wonder it just made a clean sweep of the industry's highest awards from PC Magazine, PC World, and Macworld. Come see it at Micro Center, Office Depot, Office Max, Staples, and Unitech.
Well, that was pretty creative, wasn't it? What are they trying to sell? Epson printers. How do you judge the results of a printer? Visually. Very few people purchase a printer because of the way it sounds or the way it feels when they touch it. People purchase printers because of the visual results the product offers, the printed pages. But this commercial uses the metaphor of a jazz singer for a printer. The results of a jazz singer are auditory. The results of a printer are visual. They have chosen an auditory metaphor for a visual product, which is not a particularly effective way to communicate their desired message to their target audience. We're almost at the end of this seminar, but just for fun, let's revisit two of the commercials we heard earlier. Notice whether or not you look forward to the anticipatory surprise in each one. First, there's this one from Dick Orkin.
You hear the what? to patent my new invention, the copy machine?
I think that's already been invented.
Aha. But my copier reduces, enlarges, and makes crisp, clean copies every single time.
Fascinating.
I call it Norm's, that's my name, 300RE.
Well, I call this the new Minolta 300RE.
No, see, it says right here, Norm's 300RE.
You mean this masking tape with your name written in red crayon?
That's it.
Sir, this is the shoddiest ripoff I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, that's what they said to Thomas Edison.
Well, he actually invented something.
Was it a copy machine that reduces legal-size paper to file size and can also enlarge?
Oh, come on, you didn't invent this machine.
Oh, yeah. Well, who did then?
What does that say?
Minolta 300RE.
Uh-huh. What do you say for yourself, Mr.
Minolta.
What?
Norm Minolta, that's my name,
Get out here before I phone the cops.
That's what they said to Alexander Graham Bell. The Minolta 300RE. Remember, it was our idea.
Did you look forward to the moment when the patent officer ripped off the masking tape, and then that brief but delicious pause before the other guy answered, Minolta, Norm Minolta? That's the power of anticipatory surprise. And then you might remember this spot that also contained a tasty surprise.
I love hardcore hard cider. When it's hot and I'm hot, I rub a cold bottle of it down my neck and across my chest, and I take a big, long drink and roll it around on my tongue.
Ooh. I just asked if you liked it, Mom. Jeez.
Sometimes the most natural things are the most disturbing.
I feel funny.
Hardcore hard cider. Just the right bite.
Did you find yourself looking forward to that moment when the teenage son first spoke? If so, you know firsthand the power of anticipatory surprise. This brings us to the end of hypnotic advertising. I hope you will feel free to apply these techniques to your writing, and when you find yourself marveling at how effective they are, you might even want to share some of your success stories with me. Of course, I'd never tell you to do that, but as I see you making a big new sale or listening to a client rave about the results of that new campaign you created, and as you bask in the warm glow of your skillful application of these hypnotic advertising techniques, well, telling me about your successes would be as thrilling for me as the days when I was a kid during the hot summer months and the ice cream truck would come along. I'm Dan O'Day. Thanks for listening.